Welcome to AI for Founders, or acronym AIF. That doesn't work. I'm Ryan Estes. Let me ask you this. What happens when you mix AI, skincare, biohacking, and emergency surgery? You get Elle. Today's guest is Elle from Same Skincare and Made.ai, and she's on an automation tear, literally building one new workflow automation every week for a year. That's 50 automations if you pull out holidays in 1 year. Come on. But that's just her warm-up. After a life-changing diagnosis, Elle launched a skincare line that's not only clean, it's smart. Same Skincare uses predictive AI to tell you when you're going to break out 3 days in advance. That's not skincare, that's time travel. We talk endometriosis, hormone data, breaking big ideas into small wins, and how to build tech that doesn't terrify people. Strap in, this one's a ride. But first, some business. This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster, your personal hype squad for podcast interviews. Founders, let's be real. Your story is gold, but no one's going to hear it if you're buried in your inbox, stuck in silent LinkedIn purgatory. And here comes Kitcaster. We book you on podcasts that your people already listen to. Investors, customers, dream collaborators. Boom, you got a captive audience. We've booked over 15,000 interviews for founders, and just like you, we make it crazy easy. Want to become internet famous while you sip coffee in your hoodie? Go to kitcaster.com and apply now. That's kitcaster.com, Kitcaster by Moburst. Okay, everyone loves to talk about vision, the pitch, the funding round, but you know what gets zero love? The actual product build. That magical, terrifying phase where nothing works, the docs are out of date, and you've asked your dev team, how's it going, for the 47th time today on Slack. That's where Code Story comes in. It's a podcast for startup founders who know that building the thing is the thing. Hosted by Noah Labhart, Code Story goes deep with tech leaders who've been through it, shipping real products, surviving messy launches, and figuring out what actually works and when you're on the edge of chaos. If you're building now or ever plan to, you'll want these stories in your earballs. Search Code Story wherever you get your podcasts or visit codestory.co, because founders talk vision, but builders tell code stories. All right. Elle, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. This is going to be fun.
This is going to be fun. Now, I want to start with something we were talking about a moment ago, where you have kind of a challenge, it sounds like you said, to create a weekly automation. So analyzing a workflow and then seeing how you can automate that, which then after a year, you have 52 automations in your business. Will you walk us through that process?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is one of my favorite hacks because anyone can do it, and you can do it for anything in your life. I'm going to talk about it from a work perspective, but you can do this in your personal life too. So the goal is, as a team at Made AI, what we do is we define one workflow each week, break it down, and set it up to be automated in an end-to-end manner. Now, it takes probably 3 to 5 hours a week to do that, which isn't that much time. You can get that done. But the impact is really huge over a year, because over a year, let's assume you take 2 weeks off for holidays. So you don't do 52 weeks, but you do 50 weeks. In a year, you're going to have 50 workflow automations built. Do you have any idea how powerful that will be in a year's time? And like I said, it's not that much effort. And it's a great exercise to do with teams because it forces you to think, number one, what's our most inefficient thing? Number two, how might we use AI or any cool tool that we found to actually make our lives better? And number three, how can we put it all together and streamline as much as possible?
Amazing. And, I think where a lot of people get hung up, they know they should be incorporating AI in their business. They know they can do workflow automations, which have been with this for a long time, but identifying workflows can be challenging. So how do you go about finding a workflow?
Oh, that's a great question. This is really fun because the way that we do it is I ask my team what their biggest complaint is. I'm like, what's driving you nuts? And then I say, this sounds like a perfect job for AI because you don't want to do it. And all of a sudden, the psychology of that, it flips how the team is thinking about it. All of a sudden, they can see AI as the thing that's going to make their life easier because it's solving the problem that they want to solve. Now, that means that we're talking about problems, but as a leader, you should be talking about problems. And so being able to say, okay, and now we're going to figure out how to use AI to leverage, solve this problem, even if it's only 50% of the way there, even if it's 80% of the problem solved, it's still an incremental improvement to what's already happening.
Amazing. Here's a potential workflow. I would love to just get your opinion on ways I could automate it.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so right now I've got back to schools is hovering. You know what I mean? My son is going to be a junior in high school, and he's got football and he's got school. And then my daughter is going to be a freshman in college at Mizzou. So she's got sorority stuff and she's got a million things. Now, how this results to me, what drives me crazy is my inbox are full of emails of like all these different things. What I want is a way to just systematically know task by task by task what I have to do in what order to get there. So pulling information out of my inbox, organizing in some structure, and then giving me kind of marching orders. How would you approach something like that?
Oh, this is great. So what I heard you say is there are three main problems you actually want to solve, right? If you think about the workflow automation, the first is my inbox is full of tasks. And then those tasks, I don't know why we're getting a thumbs down, but those tasks are uncategorized. So before we even get to steps 2 and 3, task 1 of automation would just be, I want to categorize my inbox. Now, in order to even do that, we have to break it down even more, right? If I was you, the way that I would look at this, and there are a ton of tools that can do this. Fixer is one. I'm not sure if you're using them, but you can actually tag each of your emails to get categorized or organized. Now, because you're dealing with your kids, you could just do this by child, right? Mm-hmm. So tell Fixer or tell another agent like, hey, read all my emails and break them down, whether they're for me, for this child, for that child. And then you can actually create 4 tabs to just have that. So that's step 1. That would be week 1. Just do that, right?
Yeah.
Once you do that, then you can take it a layer deeper. And you can say, okay, now that I have 4 hierarchies or 4 sort of columns, if you will, of kids, now let's break down the tasks even more. And then you would go into them. And I would just probably do 1 child at a time each week to then break down the tasks further. Then once you have those tasks broken down further, then you're say, okay, great. I've got my emails organized by person. Now I've got the emails organized by who plus by what. Now I have those 2 things. Now I need tasks. How and where am I going to organize those tasks? You can really do that with a simple zap from your categorized emails into like a spreadsheet with a date that will then tell you what you need to get done by when, by person. And you can do all of this in like literally 3 weeks. But I would break it down week by week like that, because if you try to like eat the whole thing, like we sort of talked about at the beginning, that's going to be more than you're going to want to put in a 1-week workflow breakdown. But over the course of, say, a month, you'll have this whole thing organized. And by the way, then you'll have like a system and you can sell it to someone.
That's brilliant. See, now what I do is go straight to the system. I have this idea. Then I'm like, I can vibe code this whole thing. This is an 8-figure idea in 12 months. I need to get a Twitter account going for this thing. Like, what am I doing?
Totally. And then, by the way, this is like classic founder. I'm in the same boat you are. And part of my learning, my goal for breaking 1 task, 1 automation per week was to force me to think slower and to break down what the actual problem is and to think more systematically. Because as founders, we're big ideas, right? I have a big idea. Let's get there. And then it's like, right, but what's step 1? And so just breaking things down into step 1, digestible things that can get done today and actually complete will help you see how you can, it's really cliche, but like conquer the mountain over time.
Yeah, no, it's really smart. And then you get to harvest the wins because, you set the bar really low and jump over it a few times, get your confidence up.
Yeah. And most people don't really think about it that way. But, engineers, that's what we're designed to do. Just like, hey, break it down to its simplest step.
Love it. First principles. Thank you, Elle. That was extraordinary. Okay, I want to talk about your products and I'm really excited because it mixes a lot of things I love. Technology, CPG, manufacturing, logistics. It's everything. So break us down really quick and differentiate your 2 companies.
You got it. Well, I have what I call my day job and then my side hustle. So my day job is that I'm the CEO and co-founder of Made AI. We're an AI-powered platform that uses, actually it's an agentic model, for manufacturing. So we help brands and factories make their products. And we do that, make it 10x easier to do that whole thing. So we use AI end-to-end, which I've actually learned is not a selling point to everyone as much as you think it is. More people in this particular audience really just care about like, hey, is my product made? Is it faster? Is it cheaper? Is it better? People don't actually care how you get the work done. They just want to know you got it done. So that's my day job. And then my side hustle is what I call my side hustle is called Same Skincare. And this is very personal. So I'm going to tell you a very personal story. But Same was born about 2 years ago. I woke up from emergency surgery. I had a 5-pound cyst, my right ovary and my right fallopian tube removed. Ooh. And I got a diagnosis of stage 4 endometriosis. I had never heard of endometriosis before in my entire life. And as I was coming out of, general anesthesia, and they were telling me all of this, I realized that I had a lot of research to do. So after that emergency surgery, I was on bed rest for 6 weeks, which meant I had loads of time to recover, but also to research and learn everything that I could about endometriosis. And I learned a ton. Here's what I learned. 1 in 10 women have endometriosis. So it's actually pretty common, but it's not really very well known or well understood. So even though 1 in 10 women have endometriosis, there are no therapeutics and there are no diagnostics. Here's what that means specifically. If you get a diagnosis like I had, it's only because the surgeon cut me open, saw the tissue, took the tissue, sent the tissue to a lab for testing, and confirmed that, yes, this is endometriosis. That is super invasive and not available or cost effective for diagnosing more or less 10% of the population. Now, once you get a diagnosis like I had, and again, I'm a lucky one because I actually got a diagnosis, there are no therapeutics, which means there's nothing you can take. Now, I like to be really careful how I talk about this because there are no therapeutics that actually help endometriosis, but there are lots of things that you can do to work on the symptoms of endometriosis. And that's really, so just to recap that, because I feel like this is an important point. 10% of the population has endometriosis. There are no therapeutics, there are no diagnostics because we don't have enough research. That's like the net of everything you need to understand. When you zoom in and look at just infertility, endometriosis accounts for 58%.
Wow.
I like to tell people that because a lot of times, especially with men, when they hear endometriosis, they think that's not a problem that's going to affect me. Well, actually, if we want our species to survive, we need to get more research about endometriosis. So I was learning all about this, and I read everything I could about endo, which is what endometriosis is called for short. And I learned that there's a class of chemicals called EDCs, endocrine disrupting chemicals. They are in everything. One day for a 24-hour period of time, I wrote down everything in my home, everything at work, everything I was eating, everything I was putting on my skin, my cleaning supplies, everything. And there were EDCs in over 90% of the products. And what's scary about that is when you think about, what we're consuming both with our body and in our body, all of a sudden we're totally wrecking our endocrine system with these products. So I decided to solve these problems. And the first thing I did was I reached out to EndoFound. They're the nationwide endometriosis organization. Hard words to say today. Mm-hmm. And what's really remarkable about them is they fund breakthrough research. That's all they do. And I fundamentally believe that we need more research in order to develop therapeutics and diagnostics. So I said, hey guys, if I launch a brand, can I donate the proceeds directly to EndoFound to fund research? And they said, absolutely. So I partnered with them and then created a line of skincare that's just EDC-free. And the skincare is called Same because you want the same glowing skin all month long. And Same basically acts as a platform to educate people about endometriosis and raise money for research. So as I was doing that, we really found something interesting, which is what I call the skin hormone connection. We intuit that there is a connection between what's happening on our face and what's happening inside, but there's no really good way to tie or connect those together. So we actually developed a unique algorithm using biometric data that shows the skin hormone connection. And here's what this means in simple terms. We can predict a breakout with 80% accuracy up to 3 days in advance. And not only can we predict a breakout, we can predict where it's going to be on your skin because there are all of these biomarkers inside your body that are telling us what's going to happen with your skin.
Incredible.
I gave you a lot of information there. Yeah. Sorry, I was like, and then.
No, it's fantastic. First off, thank you so much for sharing that story. That's
of course,
but really cool to hear and to the steps you took and kind of. It's really fun to hear how your brain kind of works. It's like, okay, problem, solution, product. keep it moving.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So the predictive skincare. Now, this is really interesting to me because largely this is
Yeah.
moving into kind of brain computer interface stuff where
Yes, sir.
yeah, where you're starting to use different triggers and predictive AI to show different things that perhaps the human eye can't.
Yes.
I can look at this plate of French fries and know that I'm gonna have a breakout in about 24 hours, but 3 days is pretty wild. How does this work?
Yeah, great question. So we're using biomarkers and just pointing them at skin conditions. This is actually really understood in the medical community. Nobody's just put it together. I'll give you a really simple example. Do you have an aura, like an aura ring?
I do not. I do have an
Or
aura.
yeah, an aura. So we're using Apple Health Kit and Aura data. And then that's actually powering the predictive analytics at the personal level. So each individual's unique biomarkers and biorhythm is what we're using to actually individualize and customize predictions at scale. So if you're a girl, you have two major sort of like huge cycles in every 24 to 28 days. This is your menstrual cycle, right? Right before you ovulate, and then again when you menstruate. So there's two big phases. Now, what's really interesting, and what we know now, because wearables are mainstream, is that your basal body temperature, BBT for short, increases during those two time periods. And it's actually this increase in BBT, this heating up of your body from the inside out, that creates the perfect condition for a breakout.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so that's why, and like ask any woman, like the two most likely times that they're going to have a breakout is right before they ovulate and when they're on their period. Well, here's why: because your basal body temperature is increasing. Now, your basal body temperature increasing actually comes from what your hormones are doing, which is kind of interesting. It's very difficult to measure your hormones in real time, but we can measure BBT, basal body temperature, and use that to understand what our skin's going to do. Now, we're using BBT, basal body temperature, to understand to predict when a breakout's going to happen. And then we're adding in other unique factors. One is stress. So this is a huge one. And then, of course, there's lifestyle factors and sleep. So these four things together, if you think about it like a basic like a variable, like variables in an equation. These are the equation. These are the variables that make up the equation that help you have clear skin. So the opposite of clear skin would be a breakout. So once we isolate and identify all of the variables, give them to people in a unique UI to help them understand what's happening, we can build predictive analytics that will tell them when they can expect clear skin versus a breakout. And once we understand that, then we can point them at products that are really, truly preventative in the sense of like, hey, you want to prevent these things from happening, here's how you do it, as opposed to what the current beauty industry is, which is you have a problem, here is a product to fix the problem. We really are trying to shift the way people are thinking about it and helping them understand that actually your products are probably about 10% of what is going to impact your skin. There's 90% of it comes from all these other variables. What's happening with your hormones? What's happening with your stress? How's your sleep? What about lifestyle factors? How's your water? What are you eating? But the skincare industry, which is 352 billion, I believe, globally, they don't take that into account because they haven't figured out how to commercialize it. So we're trying to make it so people can understand what's happening with their skin. And I'm going to say this in a really easy way. We're using your skin as a biomarker to understand what's happening with your hormones inside, because there is this very clear skin hormone connection.
Amazing. So with the Aura Ring and with like Apple Watch and stuff, you have some data points, you have heart rate, you have body temperature, you have quality of sleep. You probably could do blood pressure. There might be some others. There's so many additional data points we could get. And as far as skincare is concerned, what would be a great data point, like eye dilation or sweat, or what would be another?
Sweat's a really good one. I would put all of these under the bucket of like lifestyle factors, right? So I want to make sure I answer your question because I didn't quite understand it. Do you want me to, can you just say your question one more time?
What would be ideal data points? Just thinking about as we're going to start getting glasses and we'll start getting implants and things like that we'll actually be able to get a lot more biosignatures. Like what would be your dream biosignature?
Well, I actually think it's stress.
Yeah.
So this is another interesting thing about stress. So if you're using Apple Health Kit, which was what we're using, and Aura, they have a really interesting biomarker that's unique to them called HRV, which is heart rate variability. Are you familiar with it?
100%.
Yeah, so heart rate variability is kind of an interesting way to think about and look at stress. Now, heart rate variability is not an absolute metric, it's relative. So that one's very difficult. Absolute versus relative, meaning, look, my heart rate variability is very low. It's like 19 to 24. But based off of that, because it's not absolute, like there's a perfect, which is 100 is a perfect, it's just custom to me, right? I think there's a lot that we're going to learn about stress. And its role and relationship to what's happening in our face. I think people intuit this. We understand that when you get stressed out, your skin, it shows up in your skin. What people don't know what to do is, okay, how do I prevent that and what now? And like thinking about skincare is things like, okay, if your HRV is lower than normal, relative to you, here's a simple low-cost hack. And these are the things that the app is offering, right? Like, this is my favorite one to tell people when your HRV is very low. In the morning, when you wake up, the first thing you should do as part of your quote-unquote skincare routine is splash cold water on your face 10 times. That is proven scientifically to improve your HRV if you do that over, I think 3 weeks is the time period. So there's a lot of little things you can do like that help your skin by understanding what your biomarkers are telling you about what's happening inside you. Another example of that is like, okay, and at the end of the night, if your stress is really high, there's this concept of like put your legs on the wall. You put your legs on the wall, the body drains the blood. That actually calms your nervous system, which helps your HRV, which will show up the next morning in your face as glowing skin. And like, there's a lot of bits and pieces of this that I'm really excited about to put together and see work for people that are low cost, no cost solutions. Everything doesn't have to be, here's a problem, now here's a product that you have to buy to solve it. There's a lot that you can do just using low cost, no cost tools.
So cool. Can I pitch a product at you?
I love it. Pitch it.
This is a very highly unpopular product.
I love unpopular products. They actually do really well.
This is a shout out to a buddy of mine, James Olander, and we were kind of working on this idea a few years back. I will flash forward to what the AI application is. So this is a watch, and you put it on your wrist. You wear it, let's say, for 28 days, so you get a full representation of a cycle. But the longer you wear it, the more it's going to know. But what happens at the end of that 28 days is it's going to give you a countdown. It's going to say 475 days, 330 hours, and 21 seconds. And this is when you're going to die. It's called the Death Watch. And the idea is it's kind of a stoic wearable where essentially it judges your lifestyle, your behavior, and then gives you a clock down. Now, the idea is this would be a novel thing to wear. You show people like, hey, look at this, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes on your dresser drawer. You don't want to think about it, but it's sitting there and it's looking at you every day. And then you put it back on and now, it's not in the 400s anymore. It's in the 300s, inspiring you to take positive action. So I love
this idea. I think this is super fascinating. I love the stoicism as sort of the North Star from a brand perspective. Are you interested in the longevity world?
Somewhat. I'm also interested in self-destruction in small bursts as well.
Yeah, it's in the longevity and biohacker world, one of the main complaints, well, there's two main complaints that I hear. The first is, where are the women?
Yeah.
It's very male. And the second is, what about the role of fun, right? Like there is a role of having fun, enjoying your life, and to use your words, being self-destructive that's meaningful, right? Like if everyone's kind of perfect and living these boring lives, we're living forever, we're living boring lives forever. Right. I mean, it's just food for thought. I do think there's some value in just like joy and what does that look like in the quote unquote self-destructive. But in the biohacking longevity space, function medicine is one tool. Have you seen that?
I don't know. Explain it to me.
Okay, function medicine is from Dr. Mark Hyman, who's really like the leader in one of the leading voices in the space. I'm obviously a biohacker by everything that's happened to me. I had to become a biohacker. So Function Medicine, what they do is they have an app, and every year, you can do more if you want, you can do less if you want, but every year you get a comprehensive panel of blood work. Now, when I say comprehensive, I mean it's 100 plus biomarkers. You have to go in over like 2 sessions because they take 20 vials of blood, which is a ton.
Yeah.
It's crazy, like so much blood. But then they want you to track it over time so you can see what's really, really happening. You're building your own database of what's happening inside you, and it gives you really good clues. One of the coolest things about Function is they take all of your biomarkers, they look at them, and they assign you a biological age. And the biological age actually says this is how old your biomarkers are according to one of the largest database subsets of anonymized biomarker data that we have available. And so I think based off of your idea, there's this kind of like interesting play there, right? Like, I'll give you an example. I'm 42. I'll be 43 in October. And I just did Function probably like 3 months ago, and my biological age is like 30, right?
Amazing.
So the delta, there's like a 12-year delta. That's what I want on my clock, right?
Yeah.
I want to see my death clock that's like, okay, here's my neurological age, here's my biological age. What can I do to make that one go down while that one goes up?
Yeah. Well, and especially as it gets more sophisticated, and we'll be able to know like, oh, you know what? Ryan's been splashing himself with cold water, every single morning. We're going to give him a couple of days.
Well, I think that's kind of the interesting thing is like there are, and like I said, I'm dropping a lot of names in like the longevity space, but Andrew Huberman Lab, that podcast is phenomenal. His focus is low cost, no cost tools, which makes all of this so much more accessible. And, if you're talking about any of these tactics, even with AI in the background, thinking about how do we do things that are low cost, no cost to make them more accessible to more people is really, really important. And Huberman talks about a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about too. Like none of this is new and novel to me. This is out there.
Yeah.
I'm just aggregating it, organizing it, and productizing it.
When a part of what the technology does is it gives you some instant gratification and feedback, because biologically we're just wired to want to eat that candy bar because right now it's going to be amazing. It's really hard to stack positive habits on top of each other because you don't really recognize the outcome in the same way that you do like a shot of tequila. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So like.
Yeah. Feedback loops, right? Like when you eat the candy, the feedback loop is very long. You're going to feel good immediately, so your brain gets a positive feedback loop. But the long-term feedback loop is really large.
Yeah.
Same thing with tequila. I take the tequila, I feel good, I dance, I have fun. Tomorrow, I won't be happy.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to suck, but tomorrow never comes. It's always right now.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Elle, why do you think that women aren't more involved in the longevity movement?
Oh, thank you for asking that question, because we don't have enough research about women. We don't. And so I think it's very difficult. Women are super complex compared to men. We're not just little men. The way that I think about this in its simplest terms is here's what a man's hormones do in a 24-hour period. Here's what a woman's hormones do. And any man that knows any woman knows this is true.
Oh, hey, I've been married for 20 years. I have a 18-year-old daughter. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly what I'm talking about. So it's how female bodies at a time, like how we work is just different. And we don't have enough science that takes that into account. And so I also think many things in the longevity and biohacking space are specifically for men. I'll give you a really easy, simple example. Very early, one of the things that people were doing in the biohacking / longevity space was like fasting.
Yeah.
There's a term for this. What's it called? Why am I forgetting? Intermittent fasting. This was very popular. Well, it turns out intermittent fasting for females is actually horrible.
Yeah.
We don't get the same results, and it completely messes up our hormones. And in fact, many women have the opposite happens for women, but we didn't know that until very recently. And so a lot of things like this.
Yeah.
You get a man doing intermittent fasting with his wife, which is what my husband and I did. And he loses 20 pounds in a week and I gain 5. And I'm like, I'm eating less than you. How is this happening? Well, my hormones are different. I have different needs. Yeah. But science hasn't really taken that into account until very recently.
Hey, founders, let me ask you this. Are you building with AI or getting left behind by it? If you're serious about scaling smarter, faster, and bolder, you need to check out aiforfounders.co. It's your go-to resource for cutting through the noise and actually using AI to grow your startup. Each week, AI for Founders drops a sharp, no-fluff newsletter, dives deep with expert guests on the podcast, and hosts monthly workshops where you can get your hands dirty with the real tools and strategies. Whether you're pre-seed or Series B and beyond, launching something new, or just staying sharp, AI for Founders gives you the edge you need to win in 2025 and beyond. Hit aiforfounders.co to subscribe to the newsletter, tune into the podcast, and grab your spot in the next workshop. And it's all free. Build smarter, move faster, think bolder with AI for Founders. Now back to the show. Yeah, it's interesting. And this is, I just want to avoid any kind of controversy. You kind of have to make sweeping statements sometimes, just to throw ideas. And I'd love to get your take. But do you think it's because there's just more men in science? So they're using men as more of a sample case?
I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think that's controversial. So I want to go back to what I was talking about with endo, right? Like, there's so little research focused on female health and looking at endometriosis. And that's in part because of who goes into research, right? If it's majority men, and as a researcher, you get to decide what you work on. Men are working on things that are known to them and interesting to them. And I think, women the people that I find working in research in and around women's health are because they've personally been affected by it, like me, right? I'm interested in this topic because it affected my life. Until then, I spent 39 years not caring at all about this.
Yeah.
So I think it is a matter of like who's working in the space and what are they intellectually curious about and want to spend their days in noble pursuit of fixing, solving, understanding.
Yeah. There also seems to be a component of meeting people where they're at, which is, it seems like kind of that's like the genius behind your skincare brand, because, if there's a shortage of women in science, there could be like some overreaching, like keeping them out. I'm sure that exists to some component, but also I think women are just interested and naturally drawn to other things, so by introducing scientific principles with where they already are, they're already going to need like skincare all the time. They're already going to need food every single day. Like this allows them to be introduced to some of these principles and probably be inspired and change their life.
Yeah, you figured it out. So when I was thinking about how to get people to care about this problem, and this problem being hormone health and the skin hormone connection, I was like, the only way to do this is to appeal to vanity. That's it.
Yeah.
Because that will get people to care. And now, we're introducing concepts like hot girl science, hot girls care about science. And like, there's a lot that we can do within that to get people to really care about the cause by still understanding how human nature works.
Well, and there's historical evidence of this has always existed. Medicine has always existed for vanity reasons and for men. Yeah. So one thing I really like to look at is like kind of like the prehistoric like idols they made when they'd make little stone gods and they'd carve them. Well, they were always like around fertility, either too much fertility or not enough fertility, erectile dysfunction, losing hair or wanting to lose hair, losing weight or gaining weight. Like that's what they were thinking about back then. Like their medicine was all the same thing that's important to us. Truly, you know what I mean? Yeah. And they did the same thing. They made products that they put in their house and they're like, okay, I'm praying to the fertility god and like, hopefully that will work out for me. It's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think you're exactly right. Like there's some wisdom there that like nothing's new. It's just an iteration of things that we've known for eons.
Incredible. I want to pivot to Made really quick.
Well,
I was doing research on you and I saw some really cool quotes. I can tell talking to you, you're very open and just like a natural person. And I mean that in a way that is very conversational. But you said, we thought we knew the problem to solve. Boy, were we wrong.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
With my team this morning, right? Like, I think as you're building any product, whether it's like a digital product or a physical product, you go into it with an assumption, right? You say, hey, we think this is the problem and we think this is the solution. We think this is who's going to care about it. And then your job as a founder is to go into the market and prove that either right or wrong. And, when we were first working on Made, we thought we understood what the problem was, and we found out it was totally different. And then, even this morning, we had another chat with the team. We thought we knew what the problem it was, and it's totally different. And I think that's sort of the magic of like, you have to want that, right? The magic of what you're doing is thinking about, okay, what's the problem? Do I really understand it? Do I understand how I'm solving it and for whom I'm solving it? And what does it look like today? And, that's the job. But being wrong is a big part of it. I was telling you earlier, we built all these AI agents for suppliers, right? So these would be suppliers in the US who want to work with brands to build their products. This is a notoriously old-fashioned industry. And, we're building AI agents. And so there's a sense of, we thought that they would just love this. They'd be like, oh, amazing. Here's a tool that's going to do my job for me. We were wrong. Right? Because what we realized is, that's very threatening. People are very threatened by AI. They're very worried about their jobs going away. And so there's a sense of okay, how do we understand truly what the problem is and help them understand that? And so we came up with something clever. And I was telling you about this before. As we were going into the market, talking to suppliers about our solution, we realized that we didn't need to position it as this is a sales agent that's going to replace or reduce the workload of your existing sales team, right? Because that's technology. Getting rid of real jobs. And that's very scary for people. So instead, we sort of invented a new job that needed to be done, but wasn't, on an org chart anywhere inside a factory. And that was a role that we called a customer advocate. And so now we position the AI sales agent as a customer advocate that just helps the customer get their questions answered and not waste as much time with the sales team. And so this helps people see oh, this isn't replacing my job. This is doing a job that needs to be done that maybe we weren't doing before. And all of a sudden, people will embrace that as opposed to really avoid it.
Yeah, this is a really interesting point because we're at peak hype bubble for AI, I think. And so you're addressing what a lot of it is people are a little bit concerned or weary, and it doesn't help that anytime some tech overlord wants to make headlines, they say, we're firing everybody and replacing them with AI. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you see
well, I think that's scary. And efficiency for efficiency's sake sometimes doesn't get the world where we want it to be. And as much as we want to, business exists to increase efficiency, there's a human side of what we're doing. And if you're not building technology with the human element involved, you're going to have a really hard time getting people to adopt your technology, right? Because they're naturally going to be afraid of it.
Yeah. How have you financed Made?
We bootstrapped, which I'm really proud of. We bootstrapped it, and then we did a very small friends and family round. We went out to the broader VC community in San Francisco earlier this year, and then opted actually not to take a term sheet, which was fun. But I think I'm happy with the choice so far. We'll see. You never know. But being able to sort of build more intentionally was why we did what we wanted to do. And also, I'm not sure if you've seen, but the numbers coming, the valuation numbers coming out of Silicon Valley for these tech companies is insane. Look, you know what can kill a startup? Getting overvalued too soon, right? Because then you can't make enough progress fast enough to validate the valuation that you got. And then what do you do, right? I think we're going to see a lot of that, seeing billion-dollar seed rounds. What?
I know.
What?
I know. It's crazy. And I'm sure living there in the Bay, the temptation to take the devil's money has got to be really high. And I say that in jest, because when it's the right time, it's the right time. But
look, the right partners are the right partners.
Right.
And that's probably my best my best piece of advice is go slow. Know who you're getting in bed with, because you guys are building a company together. And, the word that I sort of adopted as the guiding light for this, for doing Made was enduring, right? I want to build an enduring company.
Yeah.
This is a company that lasts. This is not a flash in the pan. This is not something that's going to come and go tomorrow, but it's going to endure. And when you start to use words like endure, it's like old fashioned, and it kind of makes you think like long and boring and, little, but it helps you find the right partners. Like, I'm not here to make a buck. We're building an enduring company.
Yeah. It's also stoic though. It's like, hey, we realize that we're going to take some on the chin doing it this way, but we think in the long play, this is the best way for us to do it properly.
That's right.
Cool.
For me.
I'd like to enter the lightning round. Are you ready for that?
Let's do it.
Okay. Let's say you sold Made for $1 billion. What's your next play?
I would keep developing products and focus on. I love products, so I would just keep developing products. Amazing. I kind of would just keep doing what I'm doing, and maybe I just wear better shoes.
Yeah, like a gold chalice. That's my goal. I want a gold chalice, diamond teeth.
Give it all away, right? Like, give it all away.
Yeah, cool. If you had to design a product to send you to $1 million run rate right now, what would it be?
It would be it would actually be a beverage brand.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What kind of beverage?
Water.
No kidding.
Yeah.
All Liquid Death?
Yeah. Actually, I'm working on this product right now. But yes, that's exactly right. I think water is going to be a super valuable product. When you look outside the US, you see water bottles are nowhere. It's actually everything in glass. I think we're learning more and more about the dangers of microplastic. And when you look at the water in the US, it's almost like 85% in water bottles. Yeah. So I think water is going to be a huge category. Quality of water and what kind of container it's in.
100%. If you were entering college today, knowing what you know now, what would you study?
Design.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
And history. Honestly, like that sounds very, very dorky, but learn the past so you can make the future.
Speaking of that, considering everything you know now, what's something that you wish you knew earlier?
What's something I wish I knew? I think I don't know how to use CAD. But I think that's a big limiting factor for anyone who's interested in products. So learn CAD. It's pretty easy. And I think the ability to take a concept in your mind and bring it to life through CAD is really great. A lot of people use desktop publishing tools like Canva, but I think there's still value in understanding like physical products through CAD.
I totally agree. Anytime I shout out to James again, I watch him in CAD and like he's designing to like a fraction of the 1/8 of an inch. I'm like, wow. Dude.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Whoa. So cool. If you could put anything on a billboard in Times Square, what would it say?
What would it say? It would say, kindness is free.
Love that. Is there a CEO or founder you follow closely?
Oh yeah, there's lots actually. Which one you want to know which one?
Yeah, just any one of them off the top of your head.
Yeah, well, I have there's a lot of people that I sort of like put my hat on, but or like when I make a decision, I think, what would this person do?
Yeah.
Some of them are not very well known, and they're kind of just like locally. Locally, one of my favorite people is a gal named Leslie Fine. She's at a firm called Enjoy the Work, and she has a PhD in game theory. She was early at Salesforce, and I think everything that she says and how she approaches the world is like the most amazing in the world. You can go to enjoythework.com and check out all their work. I love their philosophy. They're kind of they're a startup studio, so to speak, with tons of amazing people. But their whole philosophy is if you're going to go on this journey, you might as well enjoy the work. And I think that's a really powerful reframe to remind yourself as you're building a startup, enjoy it. So that's one. And then, I'm when it comes to like the AI world, I'm a Sam Altman girly myself. I kind of follow what he does. I think he's interesting. I'm not an Elon fan and I'm not a Zuckerberg fan. There's a lot of people that are, but I'm kind of more interested in what Altman's doing.
Amazing. Yeah. Do you as far as like enjoying the journey, do you think founders are particularly prone to agonize over the losses more than to celebrate the wins?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, we're wired that way. Find the problem, solve the problem.
Yeah, cool. If you could live in any historic era, except for now or the future, when would that be?
Because we're in the future. It might be really fun to be in the US just post World War II.
Ooh.
When we had our industrial might. That would be actually really great.
Yeah, especially for the design. I mean, the
Yeah.
cars back then.
Manufacturing, the things we were making. Pretty cool.
Very cool. Elle, this has been amazing. I feel like we've only scratched the surface. I'm very wary of your time. I want to be respectful. Where can people find you online?
Okay, if you're interested in my day job, which is Made, go to usemade.ai. And if you want to learn more and join our beta for the skincare app that predicts breakouts, go to sameskincare.com.
Amazing. Elle, this has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Moburst, the AI-first growth engine trusted by iconic startups like Calm, Robinhood, Reddit, Uber, and Google. Moburst is a digital full-service mobile-first marketing agency that helps companies to scale and become category leaders. Whether you're finding product market fit or ready to accelerate growth, Moburst delivers creative, data-driven solutions that help with scale and efficiency and impact. At Moburst, we're not just guessing what works, we're predicting it. As an AI-first agency, Moburst uses cutting-edge tools to analyze user behavior, adapt creative in real time, and uncover hidden growth opportunities. The result, marketing that's faster, smarter, and built to convert. From early-stage startups to global brands, we've helped hundreds of companies overcome complex challenges, unlock new audiences, and optimize every metric that matters. At Moburst, we believe that creative thinking, advanced technology, and data are the core drivers of success at scale. If you're serious about scaling your business with precision and purpose, it's time to talk to Moburst. Visit moburst.com and let's build something category-defining together.